back, guys, to VUDivulged. I'm Itra Chambers.
I'm Anthony Plakowski. So I know we said last week that we would have Waco as our next episode, but given the events currently taking place in Israel right now, we believed that it needed to be addressed and talked about as soon as possible. Just before we start, I would like to say that we will simply be talking about the actions of Israel and Hamas. We will not be referring to the Palestinians of the world. We are simply referring to the actions of Hamas in this episode, and we mean no ill intentions between any Israelis or Palestinians. We're simply just discussing what is currently happening between Israel and Hamas.
Well, we know this is a kind of heavy topic and a controversial topic as of late, but like I said, these are events going on in the world. You can't close your eyes and act like it's not happening. These are things you have to hear and stuff of that nature. So I mean, just for off the bat, what is Hamas? Like, who are they and that nature? And Hamas, like its formation, it was back in 1987, and the group has always, it's been a little more radical. Like it branched off from the Muslim Brotherhood, which was founded in 1928. It's an old organization. It's been around in the Middle East for obviously since 1928, and it really just infected its ideology, goals, and things of that nature. And a lot of those goals, like its main goal, is to establish an Islamic Palestinian state and reject agreements made between the group that was in power, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and then and Israel. Basically, they want control. Is the gist of it.
Yes, and in 1997, the U.S. Department of State labeled Hamas, not the Muslim Brotherhood, I don't think, but definitely Hamas as a FTO, or a foreign terrorist organization. And they successfully won the political election in the Gaza Strip in, what year was it again?
I believe it was 2006.
2006?
Is when they just dominated, really, honestly.
Yes, so on October 7th, 11 days ago, Hamas launched an operation into Israel called the Al-Aqsa Flood.
Yeah.
And this was clearly a well thought out, well organized assault. They literally, they had rockets. They had 2,000 troops enter Israeli territory at the same time and launch simultaneous attacks. They even had paragliders. Did you see that?
I did see some videos.
Yeah, they had basically airborne units. Like, this was not a... I don't know how to describe it. This wasn't what you would think of as a terrorist attack. This was a thought-out, decisive military operation. And one thing we have to point out is this is a massive failure for the Israeli intelligence community and the United States intelligence community.
Yeah.
I believe in one article I saw, they pointed out 27 intelligence failures that are potentially led up to this attack. Because if you think about it, this is Israel. This country, they track down Nazis to this day and still put them on trial 80 years after, 80 years of records to find one person and bring them to trial. But then to miss 2,000 combatants essentially mobilizing in your backyard.
Well, to kind of go off your point, clearly this operation, this was kept hush-hush. Mm-hmm. I doubt people at the very top knew about it. Mm-hmm. And then when they got the signal, this whole conflict, these whole issues, this has been going on forever. Mm-hmm. Since the 1948, since the creation
of Israel
and all of that. This has been going on forever. So when they got the signal, they went. Mm-hmm. And of course, the intelligence community and all that is one of the things. They probably had a piece to the puzzle, mm-hmm. and maybe the U.S. had a piece to the puzzle, but they didn't put them together to figure out what was going on. That's That's usually what happens. Multiple different organizations get a piece of it, but they don't talk to each other, don't share the information with each other. They don't see the full picture, and it just kind of get what happened.
And this is a war between two groups of people with very, very strong ideas, and it has led to just horrific acts of violence. I believe that on the initial attacks, I think one of the targets was a concert, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there was a concert going on at the time of the attack, and as you can expect, I mean, a lot of people just died instantly, really, and a lot of people were taken as prisoners. Even some U.S. citizens were taken prisoners.
Yeah, I did hear about that. As of now, I've heard of at least 13 Americans.
Yeah, I believe 13 were taken prisoner. I think like 22 were killed.
Ooh, yeah.
That's I'm not positive on that one, but
yes. I'm trying to find maybe some exact numbers. So this article from I think 3 or 4 days ago states that at least 16 Americans were dead, 20 were missing.
20 were missing.
And who knows where they're being kept, because it was released that Hamas had used basically a tunnel system running throughout Israel to launch these attacks and keep their prisoners. So who knows where they are.
Oh, yeah. Also, for the people that don't know, this isn't like something that just has been brewing for like 20 years, all that. Even when they were first created, like this has always been a conflict. This goes back to when the Israel state and the Palestinian state were both created, like in 1948. These issues have ran deep. That's also why there's so much like, I'm trying to find the word, like commitment or anger,
dedication, anger
towards the other side, because this is something that's been brewing for years, and there's always been small scale attacks, missiles here, a little over the board, stuff of that nature, but nothing of this magnitude. And I don't think it's like terrible to say, like, no matter how this turns out, the Middle East, like that area is going to be unstable. It's going to be unstable for years to come, because neither side's going to give in. Neither side, and they're just going to cause more bad blood.
Because they truly believe that it is essentially a holy war. I believe one of the leaders of Hamas even called for October 13th to be the day of jihad, where all of the Hamas's followers around the world would go out and commit similar attacks. And I think part of the reason this war is I don't know the word. It's very different, because they're really, they launched several attacks. There really is no like battle line, right? There is no line on a map that says this is where Israel and this is where Hamas is, right? There's none of that. This is literally, they're fighting here, they're fighting there, mid over here. Because remember, Hamas launched with paragliders. They could have landed on the other side of Israel. Because normal paratroopers, like in the U.S. Army, they land miles behind enemy lines. This is a similar thing. And one thing we are seeing, especially in this conflict, it's not really about destroying the enemy's army. It's about just destroying the enemy in general. Not their army, not their ability to fight, but the enemy themselves, like literally to wipe them off the face of the earth. And that's why we're seeing all these atrocities. There are countless videos of Hamas soldiers, putting people in cars, torturing people, executing people, shooting people at random. I saw an article the other day where it was believed that 40 babies have been beheaded.
Like on the first day, or just has this been going along?
I think going along. But it's it's a very different type of war if you think about it, because Hamas improvised, right? You got to take that into consideration. Like paragliders, right? I never would have thought to use a paraglider like that, right? Sitting with a parachute and that big fan. I don't think those things move very fast.
I mean, like I said, they got caught off complete surprise. So it didn't really matter.
And even in their own footage, Hamas's own propaganda footage, they were ripping out water pipes in the Gaza Strip, filling them with explosives and making rockets out of them. So it's just a new style of warfare, I think. America, we fought, against IEDs and improvised weapons in Iraq and Afghanistan, but now you're seeing this as in a wide-scale attack, right? Not just a bombing here and, a mass shooting there. Not that there's not bringing light to those, but this is a large group of people committing several of these atrocities all at the same time. So once again, I think no one was really ready for that, because you're not going to advertise your battle plan before you execute it.
And the thing that this all brings in all this conflict, all that Hamas and all that, is actually can you bring up a map of Israel and there's Gaza. So for you people to understand how small, what 2 million people live in the Gaza Strip alone.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is the Gaza Strip. 2 million people live there, and I think it's 25 miles long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that little brown. I don't even know what to call it. Just little strip. Yeah. That's the Gaza Strip, and then the bigger portion, I believe, it's called the West Bank. I believe.
Yeah, West Bank. Yes. But just from that alone, you see how small that is, and I'm not trying to say Israel is going to do it on purpose. When it comes to war, people get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that case, but it's how.
And there's clearly a lot of built-up emotion behind it, but it is really in a way, a new style of warfare, because it's once again using water pipes as rockets, using hand paragliders to use airborne operations. I'm just shocked that you could plan all of this and nobody in the U.S. or Israel intelligence community caught word that an attack was coming, especially what I brought up when Hamas released a propaganda video digging out water pipes and making rockets out of them. To me, if I was in the intelligence community on Israel or U.S., that screams right away, something's going to happen. We need to look into this, because they're ripping out their own water pipes. Mm-hmm. And there are reports that that Hamas is using hospitals as military operations command in them. I'm pretty sure it was a bunker underneath the hospital.
All the tunnel systems they dug.
Yeah, they've put arms depots in schools, and what I think this is with social media, especially right now, and how information travels faster throughout the world. I think a large portion of this is a propaganda war.
Oh, because that goes the whole hospital. That goes right into. There was a rocket that hit a hospital, killed 500 people, 500 people like that, just gone. Mm-hmm. But now, of course, here comes the thing of propaganda. Mm-hmm. No one really knows whose missile did it. Israel saying one of Hamas's rockets backfired, came onto the hospital. Some are saying Israel did it. You don't know. It's one of the things neither side will ever admit.
Because either side is going to want what works for them. Because once again, it's propaganda. If we make them look like they're committing these atrocities, then it justifies us, right? And also to kind of feed their own spirits a little bit, because everybody knows, a lot of people have heard of the Geneva Convention, and they know you're not allowed to target religious buildings. You're not allowed to purposely target schools. You're not allowed to purposely target hospitals. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you cannot knowingly fire on those buildings unless the enemy, whether it be Hamas or Israel, is using it for military purposes. If they're using the hospital as a hospital, yes, you are not allowed to fire on it. The laws of war say you are not allowed to fire it. However, if they are shooting at you, like let's say they have a missile SAM turret on top of the building, then yes, you can fire it, because at that point they're not using it as a hospital. They are using it as a military building, and therefore have basically given up the protection that being in a hospital brings.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it comes all back around. Does not matter like who did it, because most chances you're not going to find out who did it, who actually did it. It's going to be you did it, I did it. No one's going to find it. Each one's going to use it to their own advantage. And I don't know if you've been seeing this, but like Saudi Arabia, especially Iran, like they've been like looking at Israel like, hey guy, especially after the hospital thing, like they've been looking like, you keep doing what you're doing, we might intervene, things of that nature, which Iran is, I mean, just for you guys know, Iran is the number one state sponsor of terrorism. It just is. It is. Like, and what's the organization that dwells within there?
Isn't Hezbollah?
Hezbollah, yeah.
Yeah, Hezbollah.
That is what actually has some people like afraid that Hezbollah might get involved from the north.
And you think all these, other state sponsors, they might, help Hamas. Then you have, I'm pretty sure that the U.S. just sent a carrier fleet to the Mediterranean Sea, pretty much right next door to Israel, just like right off the coast. And, once again, it's really difficult because you have to fight the war, but you also, it's the propaganda, because each side wants you to believe the other side wronged us, therefore we're doing this. But now, granted, I don't think that justifies, the beheading of babies, kidnapping civilians. I heard of a film a few years ago. It's called Eye in the Sky, and what it is there are these like terrorist leaders all in this one house. Like I think in the movie it said like 8 of the 10 of the FBI's most wanted are like in this house, and they're spying on it, and there's a drone in the air. Well, everything, rules of engagement, confirming the target, spies on the ground, all of that. But to launch the missile to destroy this house is the button's pressed by one guy, and he's in this huge debate because he's like, I can shoot at this house, right, and take out 8 of these terrorist leaders, but it's in the middle of a city. How can we minimize, you can say, yes, we can wait till the civilians walk away, but they have apparently had like a bug in the house, and they were looking at like seeing them suit up in like suicide vests. So they're like, there's clearly an attack coming. But if we blow up the house, we risk hitting civilians. And it led to a line in the film that I think is true. It's, if a terrorist group kills 100 civilians in an attack, purposely targets and kills 100 civilians, we win the propaganda war. If we fire at a building with the intent on destroying a terrorist leader, but there was one civilian we didn't know was in there, then the terrorists win the propaganda war. And I think that's part of the struggle with this, is because it's, well, Israel bombed the hospital. Well, we don't know that they bombed the hospital, but we know Hamas has committed these terrible atrocities to Israeli citizens and Americans who, you could argue, well, they were probably there on a vacation or visit. They don't...
Visiting family, maybe,
Visiting, and they're not even involved, but now we are. So then it also, brings the question of how far is the U.S. going to get involved? Because if they are purposely seeking out American citizens, then this could really escalate if the U.S. gets truly committed in the conflict. That's what, a lot of debate is. Should we let Israel and Hamas fight it out?
Duke it out.
Duke it out, because it's your guy, because a lot of Americans believe that it's on the other side of the world. It has nothing to do with our country. But others say we need to get involved because it is whether they believe that Israel has oppressed the Palestinians, or whether Hamas, or we need to fight against Hamas because they're committing these terrible atrocities, and that's what a lot of I think a lot of people are trying to shy away from and not really talk about. But Hamas really is. We're talking about Hamas, we're not talking about the Palestinian people. It's always the radical minority that really sets the bad tone for the majority. And Hamas right now, the truth of the matter is, are targeting civilians. And if you are a soldier and even police officer and they capture you, it's not looking good for you.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, it comes back now, like I said, 2 million people in like a 25-mile stretch of land. Like instant, like how this war's going to go. Innocent Palestinians are going to die. People who are not involved at all are going to die. It's all happened.
It's in the middle of. It's in the middle of a city.
Yeah, it's just.
How do you avoid that?
I'll be honest. I don't see how it cannot be avoided.
And you have to think.
I'm not saying, I'll go do it. But like I said, you're talking like Israel cannot just not respond.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the response. You hit like I say, it's bunched up. The city is bunched up. 2 million people stuck there. I mean, you also heard that the water, power, all that's been cut off. Everything's been cut off. So people are probably going to start starving.
And that also a lot of this conflict is how you view it, because I don't know if you heard, but the Israeli army basically said, we will not be allowing a humanitarian corridor. We will not be allowing a corridor to be created to where we could send food into the Gaza Strip, or we could send humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. Now, you have to look at it as in people who side with Palestine are going to go, see, Israel's not going to help the Palestinians who aren't fighting, and they're not going to, they're just letting them starve to death, right? They're trying to get rid of them. But on the Israel side, Hamas was using those water pipes to make rockets to fire at them. They're, like, once again, in their propaganda footage, not only were they ripping pipes out of the ground to build rockets out of, they were also using pipes that came from humanitarian aid to make rockets. So, once again, it's how do you look at it? Because on one hand, yes, these people are starving, are potentially starving, and yes, they might be people who are not involved in the conflict, and because there are some Palestinians that don't like what Hamas is doing. I saw there's been several events where Jews and Palestinians and Christians from all over the world are praying together for this violence to stop.
I mean, it's one of those things. No matter how it goes, people are going to die.
People are going to, and
like I said, you let humanitarian aid get in there. That means that might be going towards Hamas.
They might confiscate it once again. And
now they stay in the fight longer, blah blah. But you don't let it go in. That means innocent Palestinians are dying in the Gaza Strip. I mean, I have no doubt. Like, obviously, this has been planned for a while. Hamas down the tunnels and all that. They probably got food, water supplies, all that set up. Like, I would imagine if they were planning this for a while, they knew what was going to happen. This would end up being kind of like a siege. So they most likely, like, they're fighters and stuff. They probably got stuff.
They clearly prepared for a long, drawn-out conflict. Like, this was clearly, they did not plan a surprise attack, let's do as much damage. They clearly planned for, like, an all-out war. And, we are seeing a rise in riots for one side or the other across the country. I'm pretty sure it was in Lebanon, right? Beirut, where a U.S. embassy was it burned down or was it?
I think it caught fire, but I mean that was Okay.
Let me clarify that. I want to make.
Wasn't that today, or was that yesterday when that occurred? I think it was today.
Yeah, let me look into that.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, like I said, the other Islamic groups and all that, they're all seeing like what's going on, Israel and Palestine, and they're seeing like, that's what I mean. You cannot go in with a hard hand, but if you don't, like, how do you deal with Hamas? Like, there's not a win scenario in this. It's not. This ain't gonna. No matter what happens, this is not gonna be pretty.
Mm-hmm. According to the Daily Mail, it has caught fire, and the United States Department of State has issued a do not travel to Lebanon for Americans. So real quick, for those of you that don't know, the Department of State for every country will tell you, as an American, you can go on the Department of State's website and it will say, as an American, here are the safest countries for you to travel to currently. Here are the not so safer countries for you to travel to. So if you're just totally off topic for just a sec, if you're ever planning on going on a vacation, I highly recommend checking out, their website and seeing which countries, if that country is actually safe for you to travel to before you actually go. Because as it says right now, Lebanon is a do not travel if you are an American. So
I just want to go to the Middle East in general at this time. I just wouldn't do it. But honestly, kind of back to it. People ask, all right, why don't the people try to evacuate all that? Like, I think the Israeli military, they sent like flyers like evacuate to the southern bit of the Gaza Strip. But like I said, this thing's only 25 miles long, and there's 2 million people here. And that was they had like a 24-hour like get out, or because we're gonna start bombing. How do you cannot get that many people to move? And like I said, there's no food or water. Like, it's running low. So, like, what do you do in that scenario?
Well, you got to think that for a lot of these people, that's their home. That's their livelihood. It's like, I'm not just going to leave. But at the same time, we gave them an out. If they choose not to take it, and something happens to them, now Hamas uses that.
Like I said, but what I'm thinking is, all right, so they deal with the more north bit of the Gaza Strip. All right, what they're going to do is send out flyers like, all right, guys, people down the south, go north again. Everything's in ruins, and they're just going to do this. You know what I mean? It's not a win-win scenario. And obviously, Israel is not letting refugees go through their lines because obviously some of those refugees could be Hamas members, sabotage their military efforts, all that. And Egypt is right on the border of Israel and the Gaza Strip, they're not letting refugees through either because, just so you know, Egypt is going through like an economic crisis. So obviously a bunch of refugees flooding into their country is not going to make it any better. I'm not saying like that's a good thing, but like it's just a bad situation for all parties involved.
Yeah, and one threat, speaking of Egypt, is how far are other countries getting involved, as we discussed earlier? Because the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, apparently met with the Israeli Prime Minister and promised him that they would have the unshakable support from the United States. But what does that mean? I know America has provided Israel with rocket defense systems, which is collectively known as the Iron Dome of Israel.
Which is a pretty cool system. Be honest. If you guys have not seen any videos on like the Iron Dome, I would honestly check it out because it is something.
But once again, that goes to how far are we willing to go and support a conflict that. Well, and to some arguments, you can argue it's a worldwide conflict because both Palestinians and Jews, both of those are worldwide religions, and both of them think. They have whatever you believe, they believe that they both have equal claim to that land. Both parties believe that land belongs to them. Well, but it's a worldwide religion as well. So yes, this conflict is in Israel, but it can very easily become a worldwide conflict. I'm pretty sure there was a attack of a student on a college campus because I don't remember the sides, but one was Palestinian and one sided with Israel. The two met and they got into a pretty nasty fight about it.
I mean, on that, you probably saw the one in Illinois with like the 6-year-old boy.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Well, he was a Palestinian boy, and the landowner was more Israel. It was the radical bit, like it's violent, and well, he stabbed the boy to death.
Oh, really?
Like, I forgot how many times it was.
A 6-year-old boy.
Yep.
Wow.
Clearly, he had nothing. That's the thing.
He had no concept of what was happening. But it's to both sides. It's a religious war. It's kind of like, once again, the Hamas leaders called for a day of jihad, which, the term jihad means struggle, right? That's what jihad means. People think it translates to holy war, like what's the word? Crusade, right? Well, yes, it can be used kind of interchangeably. It really, the term jihad itself does not mean holy war. It means struggle. They can say, like, if you're going on, what's the example I heard? Like, if you're going on a diet and you're tempted to eat your favorite food, but that goes against your diet, you fight the internal jihad not to give in. Like, jihad can mean anything from that to this is a religious war. But in the case of the Hamas leaders, they are calling for a religious war jihad. And worldwide. I mean, we saw it in Lebanon, where they burned down the U.S. Embassy. So I think the entire world is needing to prepare for a set of terrorist attacks from, like, a new precedent of level of terror attack. The amount of terrorist attacks that we could see, because this isn't one individual with their own beliefs. This is two sides, both with millions of followers, billions possibly, who believe very strongly one way or another and against each other. Now, I know that the vast majority does get along. I remember in reading how in Israel, during times of peace, that the Jews, I believe Saturday is their day of rest. I have a Jewish friend, and that was the day he said he always rests. Well, then the Palestinians would work on Saturdays while the Jews had theirs. And, if you look at Israel, there are Jewish religious sites and Palestinian religious sites right next to each other. And people cross paths and work at the same places all day long. So just once again, I want to reiterate that this is the minority that are committing these atrocities. It's not the vast majority. The vast majority of Palestinians and Israelis and Jews, no matter what they believe, are truly wanting to end the conflict.
I don't think anyone really want to see massive bloodshed, just deaths upon deaths. But I'll be honest, I don't really see how this goes. Like, it's not going to go good, no matter. It's
not, because it really is a sensitive topic, because both sides think what they truly believe in what they're fighting for, but both sides have done some pretty cruel things to one another.
I mean, just kind of on that, like, I'm trying to find the right way to say it, but like, I'm not trying to say, like I said, each side has done bad things to each other, no doubt. Like, Israel, they did not initiate this, no doubt, but they did not help with the issue. Like, I mean, even in when these states were first created, nearly right off the bat, Israel declared war on Palestinian like territories and took territory they were not supposed to have,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously that happened back in like the 1948s, 1950s, all that stuff. So no one alive nowadays or who was doing all these things have nothing to do with what's going on. But like I said, it's one of the things that just keeps building up, building up.
We are quite frankly seeing just a boiling pot that's finally given over, and it's just a flood of emotions, beliefs, and well, quite frankly, radicals are getting involved, and they are the ones that are truly committing these atrocities. Right?
I mean,
you don't target civilians if you're going to war, right? Right. If I'm going to war with a country, you would attack military targets. You would not attack concerts. You don't attack hospitals. You don't use schools as weapons depot. Right. This is truly a new. I don't even know the words for it. It's going to be a slugfest. Is essentially what it is. It is going to be. I think we're going to see levels of cruelty that we haven't seen before, and on a wider scale too.
You see whole babies being decapitated.
Yeah.
All that. I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit with the U.S. Say we don't get involved,
Mm-hmm.
and we just let Israel and Gaza, all that just do its thing. Maybe other countries get involved. Maybe they don't. No matter what, a lot of people are going to die. Say the U.S. does get involved.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's going to... I don't know if that's going to make it worse, but I think now we're just going to have the blood of innocence on our hands as well. Because like I said, I keep coming back to it, but it's such an important bit. 2 million people, 25 miles worth of just length of the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm.
You drop a bomb anywhere in there, you're going to kill a lot of innocent people. People that were just living their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Yeah, how do you target military targets when the population is so dense in an area?
Yeah.
It would kind of be like trying to hit one building in the middle, and only one building in the middle of New York City.
It's not happening.
That's not going to happen. There's no way you're only going to hit one building. There's just too many people, and their effects, cars and other buildings. There's just no way. Unless you landed it in the middle of... No, not even if you put it in Grand Central Park, because all the other buildings are pretty much right next to each other. So this is definitely a conflict that is going to escalate. I honestly...
It's going
I don't see it dying down anytime soon, because Hamas believes in what they're fighting for, truly. And, well, the Israelis are a bit mad of
it's more
civilians
than
being targeted.
It's...
So I honestly don't see it ending
peacefully. I don't...
peacefully anytime soon. And quite frankly, you could argue that it ain't going to be settled peacefully, because it's not being peacefully right now.
It's going to be a generational thing.
It's both sides are at war. Peace is gone. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't know if it's going to involve the destruction of Hamas, the destruction of Israel, or...
You can't really destroy, Hamas, it's an ideology.
Yeah, and you can't destroy... And I think that's another
that's why they want,
issue.
That's why they want the total destruction of Israel, because then no one,
But then even if you do that, now it becomes a global conflict.
Yeah.
Because there are Jews all over the world who believe in Israel. People were going back to Israel to fight in Israel. So, and people were leaving other countries to join Hamas. This is a worldwide belief fighting for
stretch of land.
Yeah. Because, both, to their religion, believe they have
this is their
religious...
This is their holy ground.
Yeah, it's their holy ground, and we have a religious right to this land. But so does the other side. And these two religions are worldwide. So we'll only have to see where it goes from here. And we will be sure to keep you guys updated with breaking news of. I don't really call it breaking news. I don't really know how.
I don't want to say like any of this is like small news. Like none of this at all is small news. But like any like major developments that come in, we will try to keep you guys updated on that.
Try to keep you guys updated on crucial events and really where it goes. Let you guys know if any countries get involved, if the extent of the U.S.'s involvement, other countries. Maybe we'll see what Egypt's and Lebanon, since they share a border with Israel. So,
all right. Well, our prayers are out to both the Palestinians and Israelis that are caught in this conflict. I mean,
the civilians that
it's a terrible
truly
thing,
aren't. They don't want the conflict. But this is definitely a
sensitive matter.
This a sensitive matter, and I think that's why I've personally been struggling to find words this entire episode. So yeah, we will keep you guys updated. Stay tuned.